When President Trump came here last night, he's basically in the hunt for 4 electoral college votes. He just missed it in 2016 by 0.4%. Last night, they had lots of voters come that had supported him. And then they had an additional 17% of people that were there last night were voters who did not vote in 2016, and half of those were here in New Hampshire. So the Trump campaign's feeling pretty good.
Yeah, they're not going to take this for granted, and what stains the momentum are these rallies where they can identify people. I think 20% were Democrats, 20% never even voted in the last election, so they have a real army that they're identifying, and now just not activating the base, but reaching out to new voters, minority voters. Now his approval rating from non-white voters is up to 28%, a 10-point jump in just a year alone. So the man has been very blessed with great enemies, though, because none of these Democrats running for president has any sort of breakaway speed. Even if any of them starts getting any kind of lead, they're not going to be able to pull away or put anybody else away, and here's why. It's not a winner-take-all situation, number one. And number two, if Bernie starts winning, then the never Bernie forces are going to fight the guy to the death until the convention. But if a non-Bernie guy starts getting in there, Bernie's not going to let it go. He's going to fight to the death to the convention. So you're going to have a very badly broke, damaged ticket that's going to limp out of there, and Trump's just going to shred them. And his strategy is very simple. This is a Trump blue-collar boom, and these loser, socialist, weak, phony Democrats, they're going to make us go broke and maybe kill us, or both.
Wow. Kill us even. Okay. Yeah. Greg, I'm going to show you a little bit of that Trump rally. We have that sound now. Take a look.
Yay.
With your help on November 3rd, we are going to defeat the radical socialist Democrats. We are going to win New Hampshire in a landslide. This is a truly incredible time for America. They always talk about the Democrats. They have enthusiasm, right? We have so much more enthusiasm than it's not even close. People are signing up left and right. But if you want to vote for a weak candidate tomorrow, go ahead. Pick one. Pick the weakest one.
So that's a good strategy, right? Telling everyone to pick the weakest Democrat.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of times the media doesn't understand these rallies. They're less political than they are fun. Like, I know people that go to these things, and it really is like Woodstock for woodworkers or Lollapalooza for longshoremen. It's actually, people get there, they have a good time. The Never Trump filter never seems to understand this, which is why they misdiagnose so many issues. And it's also why Trump is able to steal the spotlight from the Democrats, because you see life at the rallies. You don't see life among the Democrats. I mean, there's more life at a Blockbuster video store than on the stage of Democrats. And that leads me to my comment about tonight in New Hampshire. I think we're seeing the end of this electability myth that we keep hearing about, the most electable person, you know, whether it was Marco Rubio or Jeb or Hillary or Biden. Electability is like that hype you hear before a movie, and then the movie turns out to be Cats. And it's like Joe Biden right now, he's Cats. It's just like, and then once the movie goes away, everybody stops talking about it. Meanwhile, when you're looking at Trump, it's like you're seeing a fantastic, fun bar, like Cheers, and you look over the Democrats, and it's a bar that hasn't been built yet because nobody can get along and figure out how to build it.
They're drinking milk in there.
Yes. Or chocolate
Juan,
milk.
I want you to take a look at, we have a call from the media talking about Democrats and how people in that party are a little worried. Take a look at that.
We've all talked to the voters. They are very concerned with the current field right now.
They're beginning to have that feeling of a loser. Joe Biden is almost on fumes, really.
There's this kind of real unmistakable sense of fear among Democrats, particularly coming off of last week, fear of the president being reelected.
How do they shake that off, Juan?
Well, I think one thing is when you have a nominee, I think a lot of that's going to go away. It'll be one-on-one, and I think it's pretty clear. Democrats, they know their number one priority is beating Donald Trump. But, you know, just to get back to what Greg was talking about, I couldn't agree more. I think that this is like, you know, WrestleMania or your favorite rock group comes to town. Lots of people turn out just to have the experience because it is fun. So I think lots of people do that. I think you overread in it. And then Trump, of course, I think he uses these to troll not only the Democrats, but he trolls the media, distract, mock, belittle, and everybody buys into it because you got to cover the president. He has the bully pulpit. But let me just remind you that right now, according to Wall Street Journal, NBC, according to Quinnipiac, Biden is +7. For all we're talking about Biden in trouble, he's +7 over Trump right now, head to head. Sanders is +8, Warren +4, Bloomberg +9. These are numbers coming from reputable places. I think today, when you have 2 federal prosecutors quitting because the president decides to put pressure on the Justice Department and then they put pressure about sentencing on career prosecutors, I think America looks at this and says, something is crazy going on right now in our country.
Well, Katie, we're going to get to Greg's monologue in just a minute, but let me give you a chance to talk about whatever you want to talk about here. On the media side of things, I do think that there is a sense, it feels like when the media starts saying that your candidacy is in trouble, it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, which is why we saw Joe Biden kind of skip town today from New Hampshire and leave his supporters just like Hillary Clinton did when she didn't show up for her election night non-victory party. But won 52% in swing districts that President Trump needs to win to win again. He has a 52% approval rating. So you can say that Biden is up on him nationally by those percentages, but where it really counts and where the voting matters, President Trump is winning on the issues that Democrats are having a hard time taking back. But on the electability thing, that certainly is something that is always overblown by the media's favorite candidate. And if you notice, every single Democrat has campaigned not necessarily against each other, but against President Trump and making the case that they are electable. Bernie Sanders is one of them. There was an op-ed that was published that was very critical of Joe Biden on behalf of a Bernie surrogate. Bernie came out and said, I'm sorry that op-ed was published. And so they are all making the case that they are electable. They're not allowing the narrative to drive how they think this thing should end up.